Welcome in. Today, we're diving into a really mind-blowing idea, one that's been whispered about for decades, but is now being said right out loud, that the UFO phenomenon is fundamentally connected to the very nature of human consciousness itself.
Okay, so let's jump right in with the puzzle that has apparently stumped the highest levels of the US government. You see, when Pentagon investigators supposedly got their hands on a recovered craft, this was the central physics-defying mystery they were staring at.
So that's the question coming from inside that very Pentagon program. Once you've ruled out every known way a thing can fly, you're forced to start looking for answers in some pretty unexpected places. And that investigation, it leads somewhere very, very strange. All right, so let's see how this all connects, because, this isn't some new, wild idea. It's a secret that top officials have been hinting at for over 70 years. It's this thread that's been running through the most classified discussions you can imagine. What's just wild here is how early this connection was being made, and by whom. I mean, we're not talking about a couple of fringe theorists in a basement. We're talking about the head of Canada's UFO program, the chairman of a top Pentagon think tank, and the absolute legend who ran Lockheed's Skunk Works, all of them pointing to the exact same unbelievable concept. Just imagine for a second you're a UFO researcher, and the former chairman of the Pentagon's Institute for Defense Analysis stops you dead in your tracks, interrupts your questions about technology, and asks you this. He's not just changing the subject, he's basically handing you the key, but it's a key to a door you didn't even know existed. And then, boom, just 2 years later, the guy who ran the company that built the U-2 spy plane and the F-117 stealth fighter, he asks the exact same question when he's asked point blank about UFO propulsion. I mean, the repetition from two absolute titans of the military-industrial complex, it's just staggering. And here's the kicker. He didn't just leave it as some cryptic riddle. When the researcher actually connected the dots, Rich confirmed it. He essentially said, "Yep, you got it." And then, just like that, ended the conversation. Case closed. Okay, let's fast forward a few decades. Because now, the insiders, well, they're not whispering or speaking in code anymore. They are saying it out loud, on the record. I mean, listen to this. This is a direct quote from a guy who spent 25 years in the CIA's Directorate of Operations. He is completely reframing the entire phenomenon. It's not just about nuts and bolts, craft from another planet. It's about something that directly interfaces with our own minds. And his analogy for this challenge we're facing, it's just perfect. Semivan is arguing that just because we can see and measure things like bodies and craft, it doesn't mean we have any clue what the reality behind them is. We're the ants. We're looking at the Matchbox car, but we're completely missing the whole concept of the kid, the sandbox, the idea of play. We might be missing the entire point. And it's not just him. This idea is echoed by Lou Elizondo, the man who actually ran the Pentagon's UAP program. For him, credible pilot reports of telepathic communication, or even, get this, cognitive hijacking, where a pilot feels their thoughts are being influenced, that's not something to laugh off. That's a serious data point. For him, consciousness isn't some fringe topic anymore. It's a national security issue. Okay, so we've heard from the insiders, but what about the scientific data? Let's move beyond testimony for a second and look at the largest academic study ever conducted on people who claim to have had these contact experiences. And the first thing you have to appreciate here is just the sheer scale. This is not a handful of anecdotes from a local meetup group. This is a massive, global data set that lets researchers see clear, statistically significant patterns in what people are experiencing. And the patterns they found are, well, they're pretty stunning. Just look at this. Almost 80% of these people reported their consciousness actually separating from their physical body during the event. That strongly suggests the contact itself is happening mainly in the realm of consciousness, not just in, physical space. And get this, the effects are also long-lasting and measurable. As you can see, nearly 80% of experiencers reported an increase in telepathy. Over 60% reported having knowledge of future events, and nearly 60% just felt they became more psychic overall. These are huge jumps after the contact, as if the event itself literally unlocked some latent human potential. But this next one? This might be the most profound of all. A staggering 85% of experiencers went through a total transformation of their personality and worldview. They consistently report becoming more compassionate, more spiritual, and way less materialistic. The experience didn't just happen to them, it fundamentally changed who they are. So, what in the world do you do with all this? You've got the historical paradox, the insider testimony, and now this scientific data. When you put it all together, it points toward a pretty radical new model of reality itself. So this brings us to the big idea, the brain as a tuner. What if consciousness isn't something our brain creates, like a generator making electricity? What if the brain is more like a receiver, a biological radio, and it's just tuning into a signal of consciousness that's all around us? In this model, a contact event might just be something that retunes your brain, maybe even upgrades your antenna, allowing it to access way more of that signal. And this model, it lines up perfectly with what people have been saying for years. They describe a technology that doesn't operate with joysticks and buttons, but through the mind. The craft is controlled by thought. Travel happens in an instant. And the key to the whole thing is found inside the pilot's own consciousness. And that really leaves us with a final, provocative thought to chew on. If this model is even remotely correct, then maybe this whole phenomenon isn't about visitors from another planet coming to see us. Maybe it's an invitation, or maybe a challenge, for us to finally understand the true nature and the true potential of our own minds.